everyone, it's Jan with What You Make It, and I am back to do another Valentine's card. And I thought today that we would play with some of these dies. These are memory box dies, and I really want to play with some texture because I also have one of the distress paints. It's the only one that I have, but I am anxious to play with it, see what the difference is, what it's able to do. These are the new paints that Tim Holtz released at CHA this year, and it's frayed burlap, so I think it'll make a really good aging thing. And let me show you some of these dies. They're fun. I really want to make just a fun card. I have this new bicycle die, and my idea is that I'll have the bicycle and have some hearts coming up out of the basket on the bike. So I pulled out this heart canopy die. It is also by Memory Box, but you get lots and lots and lots of little hearts. It's a great die if you want to, if you just have the tree stem and you want to cut where the hearts are, you would use the negative of it and then put the tree in front of it, and you would have all those little holes, and you could put paper or something behind it. But it cuts out tons of little hearts of different shapes and wonky sizes, so I thought that would be good. This is called the Grand Oak Tree. I have the swing die here. There's two on here. There's one that is like a little seat and one that's a tire. I think I want to use the tire one. And then I have the grass one. So, oh, I was going to show you. I've already cut some of those little hearts there. So you can see they're fun, they're cute, they'll be perfect. So instead of cutting these out of just colored cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and cut all of them out of watercolor paper, and with the exception of these, I've already cut those out of the colors, and it'll just be easier to do that this way. But I'm going to cut all of these out of watercolor paper, and we're going to use some staining techniques to get them to be the color that we want. So I'll go cut everything out. Oh, and I'm going to, while I'm over there, I'm going to run this watercolor paper through the Cuttlebug with, this is a basic gray embossing folder. And with watercolor paper, if you will mist it just a little bit, you will get, and then put it into your folder, you'll get a really deep etching. So let me go do that and we'll be right back. So we've done all the cutting and I've embossed this piece. Now it's something that I will tell you, when you're using watercolor paper with these dies, it's a little thicker than usual. It's real important to use that metal shim. Several of the companies that make these metal dies also make those. Or put some extra, you know, a few layers of thin chipboard in there just to get a really good impression and cut all the way through, because these are particularly intricate, and so you don't want to have to fuss with getting those free. So I've cut all my parts, and I'm going to put the parts of the tree and all that. I want us to work on this first, and because I dampened it when I put it through there, I want to make sure that I have it dry before I start. I am going to be using wet medium on there, but if you dry it after it has gone through the embossing folder, it actually stiffens the embossing, so it'll stand up a little better underneath all of the stuff we're going to be doing with it. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. Okay, to begin with, I want to create this background. I'm going to let this be the sky and a little bit of the grass. And let me grab that oak. The plan is to set it off to the side like this. Let me grab the bicycle. Have our little bike in here. And out of the handlebars, let some of those little hearts come out. At least that's the plan at this point, you know. Letting you in on the process, so we may change that. But so I want to kind of look, I want it to be blue up in here, and then maybe have a gradient down here into the grass area. So to do that, I'm going to wet my background paper, and I'm not going to apply the stain directly from the bottle onto here. I'm going to open up a couple of, this is bundled sage, and I'm just putting some out here on the craft mat, and then I'm going to do some weathered wood and broken china and some salty ocean. We'll just have a little blue love fest. Oh, well, see, now you see what happens when you drop it on there directly. It's okay. Just gonna spray it a little bit and use our brush to spread that out. We were getting that, we were gonna get there, but project had a mind of its own. Okay, so let's get some of these other colors. We're just gonna mix them all in here. Just working on this wet background here. Okay, and I'm going to go down here. I want to make it really wet where these colors are going to overlap, and I'm leaving a little bit of that blue in here, but now I'm going with the green, and I'm going to kind of mix it in between. Then I can go down darker down here, and I'm going to get some forest moss out here because that'll be a darker color. Forest. Just put some of that down in here. If it's a little dark, we'll just spray it, and we can mop it up if we need to. Okay. See, we don't have to be stressed about things not being, because, you know, my idea of how this was going to go was totally different, but we're just going to go with it because we can. Okay, so let's go back in here with our weathered wood, and a little bit of this salty ocean. Okay, a little bit darker up here that's going to be behind the tree. You know, and then pull some of that color on down in here. We'll get our bundled sage. We want there to be a transition between these colors is what we're really looking for. It's kind of a, at the top and the bottom are the really true colors, and then in between we're kind of doing gradients. Okay? I'm going to get this dry, and then we'll come back and see what we can do for the next step. So that's nice and dry. Aren't those pretty colors on there? I thought as long as we had our ink out here, we ought to go ahead and stain up our other elements. I'm going to start by getting it just a little bit damp. And let's see, let's go in here with a little bit of this, and then bring in some forest moss. I think we need some peeled paint, so I'm going to put that down there. Spray that just a little bit. You know, if you don't, I don't have all the stains, and I don't have, well, I do have all of the Distress ink pads, but I like working with them interchangeably. I have the Distress marker in Shabby Shutters. I want to go in while this is damp and just put some of this down in there. Kind of give it another shade of green in there. And I get just a little bit of forest moss out here too, and just kind of add some shadow down in there. I don't want to do a lot, I just want there to be a little little touch of shadow. Just by kind of doing a flicking motion, you can kind of indicate that there's more little bits of grass in there. Okay. And with these greens, let's go ahead and get our tree going, and I'm going to do the leaves first. So I'm going to come into our, just going to dot this in just on the leaves. And I can go back in with my browns and kind of blend them in, but I want to get these leaves on our tree nice and shaded. Now let's work on the brown, and I'm going to use some tea dye and some frayed burlap. Let me spritz that just a little bit. Clean my brush out. Let's start with the tea dye and just bring it down the tree, up the tree I mean. Get it up to the inside of those branches. Kind of let them begin to mix and mingle with the green so that you can't really tell where the branches stop and the leaves begin. And I'm going to work in some of this frayed burlap just to get a little bit darker down in there. Okay, so I'm going to go with the brush tip, and I'm just going to go along the edges here. I'm working on damp, right? Just a touch more of this walnut stain, and then I'm going to dry this and then go back in with the markers a little bit. Okay, let me clean this up and I'll be right back. Okay, I want to work let's just take a quick look here, how we're coming along here. Need to darken the tree trunk up just a little bit. This is Vintage Photo. I'm going to go in with the brush and just go up into these where they're actually branches, but they've been stained by the green, so I want to just kind of turn them into the green, into the brown here, just by coloring over them. So now I want to come back. This is walnut stain, and I'm just going to put this kind of in places where there would be a shadow up here. I want to kind of keep, you know, it not as dark up in here, but some darks, because there's places on the underneath sides of the branches would be a little darker. So there'll be places that there's grooves, and put some of this up, and just by doing some of these little different lengths of strokes here, we can kind of maybe give a suggestion of bark. And then to soften it, we can go in with our water and just blend it a little bit. See how that softens that up? I like that. Okay. Because it's Valentine's Day, I think we're going to do our bicycle. I'm going to do it the raspberry pink. So let's clean this off a little bit. one here. I need to get some more water. Okay. Now I'm going to use my Copic markers to color in the seat and all of that, so I'm hoping that I will be able to keep, the wheels are going to be black, but I want the you know what, let's just go for it. If this doesn't work, we'll start over. Let's just get it pink. A nice, bright, girly Valentine's bike pink, wouldn't you say? Let's see what we can do to add some detail to this. I've got a silver Sharpie, and I've got my black distress marker out here. Let's see if it actually will cover up the, oh, it will. Look at it. This is black soot. And as I was drawing it off, I realized that I probably did not want to use Copic markers on this because the alcohol will interact with the ink. Not that it would hurt this, but it might kind of, not sure what it would do to my Copic. So, okay, I'm going to put the silver Sharpie on the spokes. That's the bar from the bike. I enjoy adding details to things. There's times when you just want to get a quick and dirty card. And honestly, one of the things that I try to do is never make you think that you ought to be doing all of this stuff. But I want to show you what can be done, or just some ideas that you could possibly think about, and then have a go at it yourself. But I want you to know that every time I sit down to make a card, to make something, I don't do this for every card that I ever make. The ones that I share with you are the ones that I think, oh, I wonder if they would enjoy knowing that it does this or does that. The basket has a little bit of embossing on it, so I'm going to spray it. Sorry. Then I'm going to go with my walnut stain and just add some shape, and maybe up here, because this is the basket that the hearts are going to come out of, or at least that's what the plan is. Okay, I think we are done with all of the elements. I'm going to set them aside and let them be drying while we work on our background. Okay, so here's my idea, and I'm trying it for the first time with you. If it doesn't go well, I'll come up with another background and we'll do that. But my idea is I want to create a whitewash to put over this, and I don't want to use Distress Stain to do that because it really it reacts with the other stain and it takes on that color. So I want to try and do an acrylic wash and then come back with this and kind of vintage it up a bit. So we'll see. I'm just going to make a little wash over here. Actually, I don't need to do it that way. I could just go like this. I don't need much. Do that. We're going to water it down quite a bit. Okay. One more. Okay. So I'm putting it on here. You're still going to be able to see those colors, but it gives us a nice little vintage feel to it. Okay, and I'm going to dry it. Okay, as I've been thinking about it, I don't know that I want to introduce the brown into this background. I like that it's soft and subtle like that. I'm going to go get maybe one of the blues and one of the greens. I've got peeled paint. So let's do that and go over the top on these to hit the, see, that'll bring that color back, introduce it where the background, the part that is down in the embossed area has that nice shade of kind of the milky color. I'm going to go grab some blue and I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to try Broken China. Again, it just hits the high spots of leaving that kind of milky background, which I just think is really, really pretty. That is very fun background. Put that down. And that score tape is going to hold it really nicely. But later I can go put some glue dots underneath up there when I know that I have it where it needs to be. I have need of one of those other little bits. I need to kind of disguise our tree trunk there, so I'm going to put this down in there. That's going to hide the edge of our tree trunk, and then we can put this in there, and it just looks like the grass has grown a little higher up there by the tree. I'm going to trim that just a little bit. I don't need bicycle. I'm going to put it down in here. What are we going to, how are we going to attach it? And I want to just kind of roll them so that they're put that right behind here. Our little, attach our basket to the front here. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to put a little dimensional behind it. Take our glue, run it down just this edge here. Okay. Take the back off of that. I'm going to kind of just fold the basket so it has a little bit of a shape to it, and then we'll put it down. We'll put our sentiment. I typed this out on my computer, and I'm just going to hand cut it, and gonna take my distress stain. I want it to be a little wonky because it goes well with all of the other distressed stuff we have going on here. There's a commercial on TV that keeps singing "Spread a Little Love Today." I don't know what it's from. It's always on in the background, but that was what was going through my head, so I thought You know what, we'll go with that. You know what, I'm going to make it a little dimensional. Here, I'm going to put some on the end here and put some right there. There we go. To get the confetti hearts kind of scattering up the card, I use some Scotch Quick dry glue, and I really only put about 4 or 5 dots of glue at a time and work with that because that stuff really dries fast. And so just kind of worked my way up the card, alternating colors and making sure that they're just kind of loose and breezy, like they're caught on the air. I apologize, my battery ran out of memory and I did not realize it. I just kept working and talking, and so I was already done by the time I realized that the camera had stopped taping. But really, we were on that last step there, just putting the confetti up. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've had fun, that it's given you some ideas for your own creative play, and that you'll have a great week. I'll be back with another project soon. Be sure and save some time for creative play.